Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. This is John Herrera with CitySpeak, podcast, blog, video. You know, today we're talking about why choose a career in municipal government. You know, there's so many careers to choose from, and some statistics say that you're going to change your career path 5 to 7 times during your working life. Younger people will likely change their jobs more frequently than older people. But regardless of where you are now, I encourage all of you to consider a career in municipal government, which is public service. If you're working in a private sector business organization, you may have or can acquire transferable skills to switch careers from the private sector into municipal government. If you're in finance, accounting, human resources, administrative positions, all of these positions have the ability to easily transition with very little training into the municipal government sector. As a matter of fact, you're in high demand right now if you're a great accountant or finance person or HR person or office administration person. You're in high demand because we have a graying of America. Hopefully you can see my gray hair. I'm 57. And there's just a shortage of talented individuals to go into municipal government. So if you're in the private sector, consider a career in municipal government. Or perhaps you're already working in a municipal organization. Call me, email me. You can go to munitemps.com and look up all my contact information, or you can email me, John, John, at munitemps.com. Let's talk about how you can grow and develop your municipal skill set to move up or move laterally into an entirely different career path in municipal government. Now here's a very important point that I'm really only inviting into municipal government careers. I'm really only inviting people who love people, specifically people who have a passion for public service. If you have a passion for public service and helping people, you can work to acquire the technical skills that you need for almost all positions in local government, in municipal government. As the saying goes, we can train for skill, but not for attitude. If you have a super attitude, we can train you for whatever skills you need. Just have a super attitude about customer service, a love of people, a passion for public service. We can teach you all the technical skills so you can succeed. So the question is, why should you choose a career in municipal government, in public service? Well, there's a lot of reasons for choosing a career in public service, specifically local government. However, the 4 most important reasons that I could think of for this podcast are, number 1, you love people and you have a passion for public service. Number 2, the pay is competitive. Number 3, there's job security and stability, certainly more than in the private sector. And number 4, public employee pensions. They're really nice. Maybe they're not as nice as they used to be, but they're still very competitive with the private sector. I'm going to go into these 4 reasons for choosing a career in municipal government, but that'll be later. First, I want to give you a little background, a little history, and my personal career journey as a municipal employee. So please bear with me as I use my story for your benefit. So here's a little background. First, talking about municipal government. These are organizations that are created under the authority of the state government to form local organizations that'll serve the communities in their jurisdiction. Although there's many different types of municipal organizations. There's everything from a water district, sewer district, fire district, mosquito abatement district. Frankly, I even think colleges and schools are all considered municipal organizations. These are all created to serve the communities that are to be served. But the most important one that I can think of is the city organization. So most people think about a city, a town, or a village, but I'm going to use the term city to refer to all 3 of these municipalities. Did you know that over 92% of all city governments in America serve a population of under 25,000 people? This means that the vast majority of city governments make up the small town America we may be familiar with. So as an individual who wants a career as a municipal employee in a city government organization, you will most likely end up working in a municipality that serves a very small population, relatively speaking. Working for a small city puts you face to face with the local community, which can be very satisfying, as well as very challenging at times. Remember the last podcast that we had on municipal employees, stay out of politics? We talked all about that. And so you'll want to keep that in mind, or go back and refer to that podcast. Most of my 30-year career as a municipal employee was also spent working for a small city, population under 25,000. However, I did also work for some larger organizations, larger city organizations that were closer to 100,000 population. This was a great experience, but I had to learn different management techniques and develop different skill set to succeed as a finance director in a larger organization, a larger city organization. In future CitySpeak podcasts, I will discuss in greater detail the difference of skills needed to succeed in a small city versus a large city organization. But let's talk briefly about why choose a career in municipal government. The most important reason I chose a career in city government was because this was suggested to me by SIGI, S-I-G-I. SIGI, when I was at San Diego State University, I was put in front of this computer program called SIGI. It's a comprehensive, interactive, computer-assisted career guidance program that's designed to assist you in making career choices after you finish school. This applies even to high school as well as college graduates. But SIGI combines personal and occupational characteristics, your personality, your psychological thinking, and so forth, to identify career options for you. So if you don't really know what you're going to do, but you want to work in municipal government, hey, spend some time in front of SIGI. I would say if it hadn't been for this SIGI assessment software, I may never have considered a career in municipal government. I thought I was going in banking. But here SIGI said other things. By the way, I recall that the SIGI assessment I took at San Diego State took hours to complete, and I was asked dozens and dozens of questions to help SIGI to give me a recommendation for what job or career I should consider. Today, SIGI may take less time to conduct this assessment, but it is well worth the time, whatever it takes, as this could affect your career decisions for the rest of your life. Never sacrifice a few hours of hard work for decades, a few decades of career opportunities. Anyways, after my assessment session that I spent with SIGI, the software, I was surprised to learn that it only had 2 career paths that it recommended for me based on the assessment of who John Herrera is. And this was amazing also because the other students who were also taking this assessment, they were getting this printout with 10, 12, 20 different career options on their report. I guess they weren't very focused on what they wanted to do. You need to be having a laser focus on what you want. And a career program, a software like SIGI, that can help. So look up SIGI. I think that's called SIGI to the 3rd power, SIGI cubed. So you may want to know what these 2 career recommendations were for me back in 1990. And here they are. The number 1 recommendation was retail store manager. The second career recommendation for me was city manager. I had worked in retail since I was a teenager, so that made sense about the city manager. I understood that. But becoming a city manager? What was a city manager, right? So I went back and I did some research on what the requirements are to become a city manager. And through this process, that put a bug in my ear to pursue a career in city management in some fashion or some type of city job. So, very interesting experience. Look into SIGI, S-I-G-I. So, here it was within 6 months of 1990. I had graduated San Diego State University with a bachelor's degree in business administration and an emphasis in finance. I attended a career fair at San Diego State University, but I really wasn't interested in most of these companies that were there attending the career fair, except for maybe Union Bank. And I did apply for Union Bank management training program, which I'll tell you about that in a different CitySpeak podcast in the future. But what was interesting is that there were no city organizations or municipalities present at the career fair in 1990 at San Diego State University. So I had to look for my city job on my own. So a few months later, I was visiting, this is in 1990, I was visiting my aunt in Hemet, California, which is a small city in Riverside County, population 36,000 people. And while visiting Hemet on a weekend, I decided to check the help wanted section of the local newspaper, the Hemet News. And there was the job opening that would open up the door to my 30-year career as a municipal employee. The position was accounting technician responsible for accounts payable at the city of Hemet. I was overqualified, obviously, with a bachelor's degree for an accounting technician position, but I thought this was my foot in the door to become a city manager someday. So I applied and I went through the process. And after about a month, there I was, sitting in front of a panel. I was in the hot chair. There were 3 professionals in front of me. There was Kathy Black, accounting manager, Rich Jacobs, accounting manager, and Steve Temple, finance director. After the interview, I recall Rich Jacobs asking me, "John, you seem to be a little overqualified for this accounting technician job. Wouldn't you rather be interested in an administrative analyst job? We have an opening for an administrative analyst." And I answered, "Yes, of course I would. But I didn't want to sacrifice my opportunity to get this accounting technician job." And he said, "Well, you got to decide. But I think," Rich said, "I think you'd be very qualified and very competitive for the administrative analyst job." So within the next 30 days, I went through about 2 other interviews. And the final interview was with the Chamber of Commerce executive director and the city manager and the HR manager. Suzanne Kozma, I believe, was the one that was there at that time. So in 1990, I was hired as administrative analyst at the city of Hemet. And that started me off on a career path that would last 30 years. I went from being the administrative analyst, and I made a huge leap into finance director that put me into the finance director track for the following 25 years. To this day, I have been serving as a finance director. As a certified public accountant, my focus has really been finance. By the way, I never did become a permanent city manager. I have been offered the opportunity to become city manager at a couple different cities. I have served as acting or interim city manager, but I decided not to go with city manager. That was just not for me. I like the CFO, finance director track. In a future CitySpeak podcast, I'm going to tell you more about this reason why I didn't go with it being a city manager. I have a lot of respect for city managers, but I have just never pursued that position. I went through and I worked for a number of different municipalities. And if you want to ask me more, I'll tell you about, I was finance director at City of San Jacinto, county manager, City of La Quinta, admin service director at City of Imperial Beach, and on all the way through 2020. And I've worked as finance director on an interim basis for the last, I think the last 6-7 years now. Today I'm 57 years old, but I'm not ready to retire. This old horse is not ready to be put out to pasture. I've had much experience to share and too much passion still in serving municipal government to call it quits. God willing, I hope to continue working as a contract municipal employee for as long as municipal organizations find that I provide value to their organization. Let's now talk briefly about the keys to success in my municipal journey, in my career. Again, this is just my path. There's many paths and many municipal employees that'll tell you about their experience, but this is my experience. As I said, there's many paths to success in municipal organizations and careers. I've just shared with you the different cities that I've worked for. during 1990 to the year 2020 that we're in now. This 30-year period of my working life. But remember, in 1990 is when I started working for city government. I was 1990, I was 27 years old. But believe it or not, I had actually started 15 years prior to that. Since I was 12 years old, I was working in everything from landscape to fast food to retail, and then even in banking, more professional. As I told you in a prior podcast, my experience, I spent 5 years working in banking, and then after that, during college, I was actually a self-employed bookkeeper. But I actually had 15 years of work experience by the time I landed my first city job at the city of Hemet in 1990. Those 15 years of work experience was only partially related to my first city job as an administrative analyst. However, never discount the real world value of working and work experience, regardless of the job that you've done. This gives you the muscle and the maturity and the endurance to succeed in municipal government. And I think City of Hemet noticed that when they hired me right away as an administrative analyst. But my big break was to go from administrative analyst at the City of Hemet to becoming the finance director. So administrative analyst, City of Hemet. 5 years later, I became the finance director at the neighboring city of San Jacinto. How did I land that job as finance director after only 5 years experience as administrative analyst? That's a good question. The traditional career path to becoming a city finance director is first you work as an accountant for a couple of years, a senior accountant for a couple of years, a accounting manager for another couple of years, and then maybe becoming a deputy finance director for another year or so, and then you become finance director. But I took a huge leap from administrative analyst to becoming the finance director at the neighboring city of San Jacinto. I think it was because I had almost 20 years of practical work experience, 5 years working for a city. I was able to land the finance director position at the age of 33 years old. And this was a huge accomplishment. Note that I had already started in 1992. I had started my MPA program, my Master's of Public Administration program. I was going there at night, so it's night school that I was doing. And this contributed to the academic and practical experience in public policy, budgeting, and organizational management experience that I would need to succeed as an executive in public management. The finance director is an executive, is part of the executive management team at the city. Also, I had an insatiable desire to learn every aspect of municipal government. I took on every single special project I can get my hands on. I was always raising my hand, always volunteering to do another project. I didn't care whether I was getting paid out of class pay or whatever. I just wanted to learn, and I wanted to take in as much information on the municipal government organization. During the 5 years that I spent as an administrative analyst at the City of Hemet, I took on fee studies, cost allocation plans, implementation of ERP software systems, implementation of best practices in budgeting, and other change management initiatives, and as well as other projects which were usually farmed out to consultants. I said, no, let me see if I can do it in-house. And I did. And I think my finance director, who was my supervisor as well as the city manager, took note of that. But my most important administrative position that I had that contributed to my success was a role that I took in championing and implementing the formation of a JPA, which stands for Joint Powers Authority, to carry out a $1.5 million city-to-city recycling program between the city of Hemet and the neighboring city of San Jacinto. This was during 1994-95. I'm very proud of this project, not just because it helped me to launch my career in the executive level position as a finance director in municipal government, but because it showed me that if you put your passion into it, you can accomplish a lot for your community as well as your organization. Remember, whatever city you're living in, it's not just a community, it's also an organization. The city is an organization, and it's also a community. The organization needs to serve the community, that's the customer, and working together is the most important way of achieving whatever goals your community sets out to achieve. But let me talk about this JPA, this city-to-city recycling JPA that I championed to be able to form that at the City of Hemet. I really would need an entire CitySpeak article just to talk about that, so I'm just going to summarize it for you. I had a couple notes about it. But this city-to-city recycling program, as I said, I'm very proud of it because to bring this to fruition, we had to work like 20 hours a week extra in addition to our regular duties to be able to bring this about. And so to me, in my career, my capstone municipal career project that I always point out is the city-to-city recycling program that I helped to bring about at the City of Hemet with the City of San Jacinto. So the City of Hemet and the City of San Jacinto, like all other cities in California, were under pressure to meet the State of California's Integrated Waste Management Act of 1989. This was called Assembly Bill 939 from 1989. This required cities to divert trash away from the landfill. And the requirement was that cities had to reduce their trash and recycle that. Divert 25% and achieve that goal by 1995, and by the year 2000, they had to achieve 50% diversion requirements. There were to be fines and penalties for any city that didn't meet this 25% and 50% trash reduction. So it was a very important mandate from the state. It was an unfunded state mandate. That was not something that Senate Bill 90 in California would reimburse for. So in 1994, while I was the administrative analyst, I was asked to research how to solve this problem. So after all this research, I wrote a proposal to my city manager, Joe Gazzetta, and my finance director, Steve Temple, at the City of Hemet, California, to form a joint powers authority. This is a concept that I had learned about, studied about in my MPA program at Cal State University, San Bernardino. There were many different facets to putting this together. But the important thing is that after I did the analysis and did a thorough study, I was able to arrive at the fact that doing a municipal recycling program as opposed to farming it out to the private sector would actually result in lower recycling fees for residents and businesses and other commercial entities. So after 9 months of working on this JPA proposal, I personally brought together staff from both the City of Hemet and City of San Jacinto, as well as even the City Council, and was able to bring them on board. So we had the city managers from both cities, the finance directors, public works directors, city attorneys from both cities, and even council, as I said. In 1994, I made several presentations to the public to receive input. Then, with the help of the city attorneys, I prepared the resolutions and staff reports, and I held public hearings so that we can bring city council presentations to both the City of Hemet Council and the City of San Jacinto Council to get buy-in. In late 1994, I brought together city council members from the City of Hemet and from the City of San Jacinto, and we held a joint city council meeting. This was pretty major because this never before in the history of both of these cities had both city councils sat together on a single dais. So this was pretty cool to see them all on the same dais. But we brought them all together, and the councils from both cities voted in favor of this JPA city-to-city recycling program, and the city-to-city recycling program was born. Yay! It was great. This recycling JPA program was a success. The residents and the businesses would end up paying 30% lower recycling rates, and the businesses as well, and achieve the AB 939 recycling goals. In addition to this, this was a really cool feature for the City of Hemet, who is going to be managing the administrative aspects of this JPA program, as well as issuing the certificates of participation to acquire, lease, purchase, finance the new recycling trucks and other, the hundreds of or thousands of actually recycling containers. But in the end, there was a $450,000 benefit in terms of cost allocation. So it wasn't profit, it was cost recovery benefit to the city of Hemet's budget through the redistribution of costs, because we had capacity in the city of Hemet. So we were able to absorb that, and that money came back as cost recovery. My finance director and the city manager and I were very proud of this capstone project. Well, an administrative analyst at the city of Hemet didn't normally get involved at that level. I did, and that's just because I was, as they called me, a live one. So the city manager and council members at the neighboring city of San Jacinto were also impressed. They took note of me. So when 6 months later, after the adoption of the city-city recycling JPA program, the city manager recruited for a new finance director. And it was a long process. It took about 2-3 months. And I had to go and compete with seasoned, experienced finance directors, certified public accountants, auditors, and I beat out all of them. Sorry, have to brag a little bit there, because here I was, never been a finance director, and I was able to achieve this. It was really cool. But that's because of my capstone project, the city-to-city recycling program. So look out for your municipal capstone project opportunity and establish your value to your career path and to the organizations that are looking and following your career. Because the opportunities to improve local government and government in general are everywhere, and the need to improve, to make local government more efficient, it's very important. And we have to keep working at that as public employees, as municipal employees. So your municipal career path, how will you achieve your goals? I realize not everyone wants to become a finance director or a city manager or another municipal executive for that matter. However, we all want to succeed in our jobs, and even better, we don't want just a job, we want a career. By the way, I trademarked, about 10 years ago, I trademarked the phrase, it's not just a job, it's public service. Through the United States Trademark and Patent Office, I was able to get that registered trademark for my company under Municipal. So I believe in public service, and a career as a municipal employee is the best type of government career there is. So whether you want to become a city manager or just a maintenance worker, which doesn't make the maintenance worker position any less important, they're both equally valuable to the organization, they just have different roles. Put your best foot forward and go forward and achieve your goal. You know, at my company at munitemps.com, I have a list of the most requested positions that we have for interim assignments that come up. Go look at it. Go to munitemps.com and click under the jobs available, and you'll see a list of all the positions we have. I think it's very important for you to note that about 70% of all of our temporary assignments, where we place people for temporary assignments, 70% of our temps end up getting hired as permanent municipal employees, mostly city employees. So consider working with Munitemps if you're trying to get your foot in the door to a career in municipal government, city government. Let me give you 3 more reasons to choose a city job: good pay, stability, and retirement. That's it. That's really 3 more reasons for you to consider. Again, going back with my story that I can share with you. My municipal employee compensation in 1990. I'm not saying this to brag, it's just to tell you how great the benefits are in a city organization. This is in 1990. As I told you at the outset, that my very first city job in 1990 was the administrative analyst at the city of Hemet. The starting salary in 1990 for administrative analyst, which is what I was offered at step A, was $2,500 a month. $2,500 a month plus a generous pension and benefits package that was given to the professional category of municipal employees at the city of Hemet back then. In today's dollars, that $2,500 monthly salary is the equivalent of almost $5,000 today in the year 2020. So $5,000 starting salary today in 2020, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's a really good salary. Of course, you got to prepare for it. But here's the other thing, the total time off, the number of days that I received for vacation, holiday, management leave, sick leave, and so forth, it was incredible for the administrative analyst management group. I was paid 31 days of vacation, 5 days of management leave, 11 paid holidays, and mandatory sick leave. This doesn't even include the training lead time and the excellent health insurance and college tuition reimbursement that they offered me. I'm very thankful to the City of Hemet. Man, that was the Cadillac of fringe benefits. Needless to say, money, compensation, and pay is an important reason to pursue a city job. And I'm happy to say that all the municipal government organizations I worked for during my career always provided living wage jobs, not just to the professional career track like my positions, but to all the employees. And that's something to keep in mind. Job stability is the second area. The other benefit from working as a municipal employee is job security and stability. As my finance director, Steve Temple, once told me in 1992, I still specifically remember him telling me that, there is more fairness in working for local government organizations than in any other type of jobs. He was right. Although there are some abuses to the job security benefits by some employees, for the most part, municipal employees want to do a good job and they stay in their positions while doing a great job. Job security and stability is a huge benefit to working in municipal government. The other area is public employee pensions. Retirement. Although there are disparities and abuses within the public employee retirement system, and especially in California, the fact remains that these good pensions are what attracts a lot of professionals to work in public service. Although I worked 30 years as a municipal professional, only 15 of those years was inside the municipal retirement system. I actually left the public employee retirement system in California 15 years ago to become a consultant because I enjoy the diversity of going to work 6 months, 9 months, a year or so at different cities. So I really wasn't focused on the public pension. But I got to tell you, that pension is great. And the pension that you get in municipal organizations as a municipal employee are superior to that of the private sector. However, as money becomes tight, public employee pensions are being scrutinized. Nevertheless, municipal employees still enjoy a pension that is better than a lot of the private sector companies are providing out there. So I'll discuss in a future CitySpeak newsletter this point about public employee pensions and the benefits that you receive. And we'll also talk about what's needed to attract talent into municipal government. And right now, whether you're in private sector or municipal sector, you're in high demand. I mean, the older guys, the baby boomers, guys and gals, baby boomers like me, we're retiring. And so even though I'm not ready to quit working, I'm still going to work as a contractor, you're needed and you're in high demand. So in conclusion, the money, the job stability, the pension, security, it's all nice. But the most important reason why we need to go to work for municipal government is because we have a passion for public service. Working on initiatives and customer service that benefits the residents and businesses of the community is something that we can take great pride in. Never let the cynicism or politics of highly charged political organizations, municipalities, take away your sense of community and public service and your responsibility to the residents. There is no job like that of a municipal employee anywhere. So I encourage you with this podcast, put your best foot forward. Go pursue your dream job in municipal government. My company, Munitemps, is here to assist you. If you're not already working in city government, we can help you at Munitemps to get your foot in the door through a temp assignment that could lead to a perm job with the city government or one of the many municipal organizations in California and throughout the United States. Join our Munitemps Municipal Talent Network by registering at munitemps.com and register as well as upload your resume and you'll be notified. But I continue to say thank you. This is John Herrera at CitySpeak Podcast. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode on why choose a career in municipal government, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the CitySpeak Podcast. Tune in next time where we will talk again about everything relevant to stakeholders at City Hall and municipal government organizations.